Yep, and here I'm still going. Hello everyone and welcome back to Carnatics TV. Today I'm going to show you how to remove a seized wheel spacer. Now obviously I was not originally planning to do this. I only came to change the discs and pads. They needed doing all round, obviously looking at the state of them. I did the front too, no problem. I got onto the rears and I found out they got spacers fitted on the wheels. I didn't think this was an issue until I tried to remove them. Now obviously having to do this was not the plan. However, there's some things you're going to need. The first thing is heat. You're going to need some heat for this. Now luckily I bought this torch previously on eBay. It was just a cheap butane torch. It came with some gas bottles and obviously the torch itself. It's a good, cheap, solid investment. Next you're going to need some WD-40. The WD-40 is going to get into the spaces which can't be reached and it's going to help just loosen up and get a bit of moisture in there. Finally, you're going to need a mallet. I recommend a rubber mallet for this. You don't want a solid mallet that's going to destroy the spacer. Even in my case, I have a copper one here, but this is not very good because the spacer is aluminium. So what I did to avoid any damage, I use this cloth in front. So the first step you want to do, as I'm showing here, you want to spray the WD-40 into the very small gap between the spacer and the disc. Now I'm sure if you're in the same situation as me, you've probably tried to get something into one of the spacer holes and try and knock it to at least get the spacer to rotate. Now this did not want to budge at all. So once you spray your WD-40, the trick here is to use the mallet and gently tap on the surface of the spacer in a circular motion, being gentle. So you're not using the mallet here to smash it into the ground. You're only using it gently so that the spacer can be knocked and the vibration will help to release it from the surface. Now you want to do this in intervals. So you want to go in a few circles around the spacer and then you want to use the heat and try and get as much heat into that spacer as possible, as well as in between the surfaces. So I was just doing circles around, like I said, just doing between the spacer holes, going around the surface, centering towards the hub as well. And once you've got some heat in there, stop, go around again with the mallet and just gently tap in a circular motion. You're just trying to knock the metal to try and get it to move in any way possible, because obviously it's not moving at all. So what this will slowly and surely do, now it will be slow, and when you feel like giving up is when you need to just keep pursuing and carrying on. So as you can see, I've done the sequence a few times, I've applied the heat, I've tried to knock it a bit. The next important bit is trying to lever the spacer off. Now the tool you decide to use to do this is important because obviously you don't want to damage the other surface. So in my case, obviously I didn't want to damage the spacer because the spacer is completely fine. However, the disc I'm trying to remove, it's already knackered, so I wasn't worried about scoring or putting any marks into the disc. Obviously the spacer will be softer, so any levering that you try to do, if you do it against the spacer is going to end up with a lot more damage. However, the disc is normally steel, so any marks or indentations it might make will be pretty small. However, you're just planning to remove the wheel, obviously you don't want to damage anything, then just be careful when you are trying to lever the spacer off. I'd say the best thing is to avoid damaging the spacer, because the spacer is essential for making sure that the wheel rotates correctly, so you'd rather not really damage that. Don't try to lever it with full force if it's not ready yet. For example here, I tried, put a screwdriver there, clearly wasn't ready to go yet, so don't try and force it if it's not moving anywhere. You're just going to end up doing more damage to either the spacer or the disc. Yep, and here I'm still going. Since I took the last clip, I've been doing the same thing. I'm still having no luck myself, but I know it's going to work. Just have to be patient. What I mean, when the spacer is ready, it'll be hot. It'll be almost too hot to touch, especially with your bare hands. And that's when it'll be ready. Obviously the footage has been heavily sped up throughout this video, and also I just put this clip in there just to show you how it really feels. It will feel like it's almost getting nowhere, but that's when you need to just carry on, stay strong, because shortly after that, with a bit more heat, a bit more hammering, as you'll see, we start to have a break. Now I've just finished hammering with my mallet covered in this, and not sure if you can very slightly see, ever so slightly, it's starting to separate. Keep going. Just showing you this clip from earlier on in the video before we started, and as you can see from the gap in the clip here, that the gap has definitely grown since we started. This clearly means that this is working, so we just need to carry on with the process and the spacer will come off. Now from this point onwards, as the gap has started to form, you will see that when you hammer it, it will respond to that, as in you will see it closing on one side, open up on the other, and then when you hit the opposite side, it will open the other side. Now it will seem annoying and will seem like it's almost ready, but the important point here is just to carry on doing this as well, because as you are hammering away and with the heat and trying to get it off, the gap is slowly getting bigger and bigger, and eventually you'll be able to fit a lever in there to get it off. So you will see the spacer physically move when you hammer in it now. However, unless the gap is big enough to fit something in, you need to carry on. And look at it now, you can hear it hitting off, bounce off the surface. You hear that? And you can definitely see it. That's why you keep it going. Keep it going, keep it going. Just to put it into even more perspective, I've had to speed these clips up even more just because of how long it's actually taken me. However, if you've been following this video, you already know the process. So all you need to do is just carry on, carry on, carry on. You're slowly seeing the results. It's slowly coming off. It's just a matter of when.
A few inches later.
So 1 stressful hour later, and finally reached another breakthrough point. As you can see, there's enough space now to actually fit the lever bar behind, which means that we are very close to getting this off. As you can see, the flash has automatically started coming on now, which shows you how long I've been outside. It's starting to get dark, which means it's about time to wrap it up. So once you're at this stage and you have a gap of about 1 centimeter to about 1/3 of an inch, you're in a good position, because it means the spacer is about to come off, as it did for me here. So if you're wondering what all that white powdery looking stuff is near the hub, that is the corrosion caused between the two metals, and there's also why the space was so seized on. Obviously there's a bit of rust on the hub as well, which doesn't help. Now I highly recommend to give both these surfaces a good clean before fitting them back to the car. I'd recommend using a wire brush such as a nylon one, which should be enough just to get off the corrosion, but without actually damaging the surface. You want the surface to be nice and smooth again. So this is how to remove a seized wheel spacer from your car. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you found it helpful. If you did, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.